As fighting goes on in Gaza, so too do efforts to halt the nearly 4-month war. Hamas now says that Israel and international mediators have made it a tentative truce offer. But the militant group, considered a terror organization by most Western states, says that it is still reviewing the details.
Hundreds of tents are crammed together in Rafah, hard against the border with Egypt. This is probably the safest place for people who fled to southernmost Gaza to escape the fighting and bombing elsewhere. It's estimated that half of the population of Gaza is now in the area. But the Israeli army is still attacking targets in the city. Gaza's Hamas-run health services say 14 people were killed in one attack in Rafah on Saturday.
They tell people, leave your homes, go to the zones considered safe. But at the end, wherever people go, they get bombed. Why? Who knows? It's just revenge. They just want to bring destruction to people, that's all.
You can see the huge destruction in this area. This shows its strength. All the neighbouring houses were affected.
Meanwhile, international attempts to negotiate a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel continue. Hamas confirmed that it has received a proposal from Israel, the US, Egypt and Qatar, but said it needed more time for a decision. But there's no deal yet, and Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says his ground forces will also eventually advance into Rafah, something Israel's allies have strongly warned against. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said a military operation against Rafah would not be justifiable.
And let's get more now from journalist Hazem Balousha, who was based in Gaza until he and his family evacuated in November. He joins us now from the Jordanian capital, Amman. Hazem, good to see you again. We are hearing these reports that the Israeli army plans to expand its offensive to Rafah, or rather in Rafah on the Egyptian border. What more can you tell us about that?
This is still not certain. There are a lot of statements coming from different sides, mainly Israeli one and the Egyptian side, which is very relevant. Some statements particularly came from Israeli defense minister, who said that they would advance in, but apparently, according to the reports and from different sources, the Egyptians are not happy with that. There are some reports that they would replace this plan with more enforcement along the border. Egypt would build an underground wall along the border between Egypt and Gaza. Other things, there was a report that Israel asked Egypt to really relocate the Rafah crossings between Gaza and Egypt to a place near Kerem Shalom.
Meantime, Hazem, Israel and Hamas are still negotiating a possible ceasefire and the release of Israeli hostages. What more do we know at this point about the status of those talks?
A lot of reports, nothing official coming, but Hamas is saying that they are reviewing the proposal that submitted to them through Qataris and Egyptians. There are two different levels of discussion. One is the internal Hamas. They have different bodies. They are discussing it within the bodies of the movement. Another level is discussing it with other factions, particularly Islamic Jihad and other like PFLP or DFLP. They want to, as according to the statements from Hamas officials, they want to show a one voice from the Palestinian side. So it's not clear. There are some reports that the Hamas answer or response will come out later today.
Journalist Hazem Balousha joining us from Amman in Jordan with the latest on the situation there in Gaza. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's bring in now Hiba Tibi. She is the CARE Acting Deputy Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa. She joins us from Amman. What options are there for the hundreds of thousands of displaced people in Rafah if the Israeli army extends its operations there?
Thank you so much for this question. Unfortunately, as you know, and as we have seen in your report, the options that are remaining almost for the people if they are moved out of Rafah are almost none. This is the only remaining area where people are trying to secure themselves in a place that is actually open for them to stay in with the minimum, not even enough services that exist. If this place is going to be under military action, we are very afraid that there are no other places to go to, no options to use in Gaza.
Talk with us a little bit more about the services and the aid, because for weeks we have been hearing what the UN has described as pockets of famine in Gaza and diseases spreading. What more can you tell us about the current efforts to reach civilians and provide help?
There are many actors in Gaza trying to reach as many people as possible. Among them is CARE. All of us, we try our best. We try to secure services from outside, from inside Gaza. But what we do is still the same. We used this terminology weeks and weeks ago, drop in the ocean. What we are providing now is still a drop in the ocean. If the needs were already massive weeks ago, they are extremely massive now. The number of aid entering is very, very limited. The possibility to distribute it is very limited. In the north, it's even almost not existent, and the same is applied in the south. In Rafah and in the surrounding area, the same is applied on Khan Yunis and other locations. The requirements are massive, but what is happening in Gaza or entering is very, very limited and little.
The International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to allow more aid into Gaza. What has your organization been noticing? Has there been any increase since then?
There are days where we see more aid entering, days with less aid entering. The highest number of aid trucks entering in Gaza per day, the highest number is as almost half of the requirement in normal days before the war, which means that we are still unfortunately facing very limited amount entering Gaza. The requirements are massive, as I mentioned. With the winter entering, more and more aid is needed for winter items, shelter items, and medicine, and this is not happening, unfortunately. After the ICJ announcement, there was not much improved, to answer your question.
We've been hearing and reporting today that Israel and Hamas negotiations on a potential ceasefire are still ongoing. You mentioned a number of things that are needed in Gaza. What would be among the most urgent needs for civilians if there were to be any break in the fighting? What's on the top of the list for you?
It's very difficult to prioritize one item or two or even three. Everything is needed in Gaza. Food, water, fuel, shelter, medicine, all of that is needed. And unfortunately, all of that is focused only on life-saving and not even for livelihood. We don't even think about it right now. It's only for life-saving. All these are considered priorities that we wish we are going to be able to secure in any ceasefire or at least a short ceasefire in the coming, hopefully, days.
Hiba Tibi, CARE Acting Deputy Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa in Amman. Thank you so much for joining us on DW News.
Thank you.